Welcome to my channel $T Valuable Coins. So get it started. Queen Elizabeth visited Australia in 1994 as part of her official duties as the Queen of Australia. This visit was significant because it was her 11th official visit to Australia and came at a time of growing Republican sentiment in the country. Here's a detailed breakdown of her visit. At the time of Queen Elizabeth II's 1994 tour of Australia, the country was experiencing increasing debate about whether it should become a republic and replace the monarchy with an Australian head of state. This was fueled by Prime Minister Paul Keating, who was a known Republican and was advocating for a referendum on the issue. Despite the political atmosphere, the Queen's visit was planned as a diplomatic and ceremonial tour, involving multiple cities and engagements. The Queen arrived in Australia in March 1994 and stayed for nearly 2 weeks. She visited several states and territories, including New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and the Australian Capital Territory, Canberra. Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, accompanied her on the tour. The Queen's schedule included official ceremonies, public engagements and meetings with Australian officials. Queen Elizabeth met with Prime Minister Paul Keating and Governor-General Bill Hayden. This meeting was particularly notable because of Keating's Republican stance. The Queen attended several state functions, met with Australian citizens, and participated in cultural and historical events. She officially opened Commonwealth Games-related events in Victoria. In Canberra, she addressed Parliament, reinforcing the importance of Australia's connection to the monarchy. The Queen participated in public walkabouts, allowing Australians to greet her in person. These were held in multiple cities, with thousands gathering to see her. The notorious protest incident egging the Queen, one of the most memorable and controversial moments of her 1994 Australian tour, happened in Sydney, where the Queen was targeted in an egg-throwing incident. This took place on March 4, 1994, at Tumberline Park, Darling Harbour. A protester threw eggs at the Queen while she was walking past a crowd. The eggs missed the Queen but landed near her, causing a minor commotion. The police arrested a student protester who had carried out the act. The Queen remained calm and composed, continuing with the event without any visible reaction. Due to the rise of Republican movements and some protests, security was heightened throughout the Queen's visit. Authorities took extra precautions to ensure her safety, especially after the egg-throwing incident. Despite the political climate and growing Republican movement, the Queen's visit reinforced her strong connection with Australia. The visit highlighted the division between Royalists, who supported the monarchy, and Republicans, who wanted Australia to become a republic. Republican groups used the occasion to protest, while Royalists gathered in large numbers to show their loyalty. After the Queen's visit, Prime Minister Paul Keating intensified his campaign for an Australian republic. He proposed a referendum, which was eventually held in 1999. Though the Republican movement failed at that time, despite political tensions, the Queen was warmly received by many Australians. Large crowds gathered at her events, showing continued support for the monarchy. The 1994 Australian tour of Queen Elizabeth was a significant moment in Australia's modern history. While it took place amidst increasing Republican sentiment, the Queen's visit reinforced the strong historical ties between Australia and the monarchy. The egg-throwing incident became a major talking point, but it did not overshadow the overall success of the tour. Queen Elizabeth II's 1994 visit to Australia. By 1994, Queen Elizabeth had already visited Australia 10 times, with her first visit occurring in 1954. However, her 11th visit in 1994 was particularly significant because Republican movement. The debate about whether Australia should remain a constitutional monarchy or become a republic was gaining momentum. Paul Keating's Republican push, the then Prime Minister, Paul Keating, was openly in favour of Australia becoming a republic and advocated for a referendum on the monarchy. Rising protests, some Australians wanted to keep the Queen as head of state, while others pushed for independence from the British monarchy. Despite this political divide, Queen Elizabeth embarked on her scheduled tour, which included multiple cities and engagements across the country. March 1994, arrival and initial engagements. The Queen and Prince Philip arrived in Australia in early March. She visited New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and the Australian Capital Territory, Canberra. Upon arrival, she was greeted by Governor-General Bill Hayden and Prime Minister Paul Keating. Keating was known for his strong Republican stance. He and the Queen had a formal meeting where they discussed Australia's future. A famous moment from a previous meeting in 1992 was when Keating placed his hand on the Queen's back, which many considered a breach of royal protocol. In Canberra, the Queen delivered a speech at Parliament House. She reaffirmed her commitment to Australia, regardless of the Republican debate. Some Australian politicians, including Republicans, used the event to express their views on severing ties with the monarchy. The Queen attended several official state dinners and receptions. She visited historical sites, charities, and Indigenous communities. The Queen was involved in Commonwealth Games-related activities in Victoria. She met with athletes, officials, and the public. Egg-throwing incident, Sydney, March 4, 1994. One of the most controversial moments of the Queen's visit occurred at Tumbalong Park, Darling Harbour, Sydney. During a public walkabout, an anti-monarchy protester threw eggs at the Queen. The eggs missed her but landed nearby, causing a security alert. The protester was immediately arrested by the police. Despite the incident, the Queen remained calm and continued with her schedule as if nothing had happened. The event made international headlines, highlighting the growing tension over the monarchy's future in Australia. Due to protests and anti-monarchy sentiment, security was heightened throughout the visit. Police and royal security teams took extra precautions. Protesters gathered at several locations, holding signs and banners calling for a republic. The Queen's public walkabouts were carefully planned to avoid security risks. While some Australians protested, many others warmly welcomed the Queen. Large crowds gathered at her events, demonstrating continued support for the monarchy. Republican groups used the visit to push for a referendum on the monarchy, which eventually took place in 1999, though it failed. The visit gave momentum to Australia's Republican movement. Paul Keating's government intensified efforts to prepare for a future republic. The 1999 referendum on becoming a republic was a direct result of these efforts, though Australians ultimately voted to remain a monarchy. Demonstration of the Queen's grace. Despite protests and the egg-throwing incident, Queen Elizabeth II handled the situation with dignity and calmness. Her composed response reinforced her reputation as a strong and resilient monarch. Public divide on the monarchy. The visit showed a clear split between Australians who supported the monarchy and those who wanted an Australian head of state. It was one of the most politically charged royal visits in Australian history. Queen Elizabeth II's 1994 visit to Australia was more than just a royal tour, it became a symbolic moment in the nation's debate about its future. While supporters of the monarchy celebrated her visit, Republicans used it to push their cause. Despite the controversies, the Queen remained composed and fulfilled her duties with grace. Her visit did not stop Australia from considering a republic, but it did highlight the